Hey, what's good, everybody? I'd like to welcome you all to a brand new episode of the Boombox Guru. I'm your host, LB, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about my top 3 albums by the Coup. Now, the Coup is a hip hop band from Oakland, California. They started back in 1991 by frontman Boots Riley. They've been through several lineup changes. I know probably the most well-known lineup was with him and DJ Pam the Fontress. They kept the group going for a long time. They did have another member named E-Rock, but he left the band after the second album. And Pam, she stayed with the band for a good number of years, but I think she ended up starting her own catering business where she had to focus more on that. So her role in the group or the band scaled back in later years, and she would like perform with them when they did local shows in the Bay Area and such. But for now, the band have pretty much morphed into a full-fledged band now. I think back in the past, they would use a band like for like live performances, and they would bring in live instruments but program drums, is what Boots Riley once said. But yeah, I think for now they're pretty much a full-fledged band, and their sound has kind of changed. The previous records was more kind of like funky hip hop that was typical of those times in the 90s, but now their style has implemented more of like rock elements, rap rock, a lot more funk and soul with the whole live band presence. So it's really turned into a full-fledged band at this point. And their lyrics, which are written by Boots Riley, tend to be very revolutionary, very politically charged. He expresses a lot of his like anti-capitalist type of views, the inequality between the classes and things of that nature. There's a lot of things he touches on, but it's not just political. He also talks about like romance in some songs. There's even a few songs where he talks about family and things of that nature. And unlike most political acts in hip hop, Bruce Riley isn't aggressive or in your face. He has a very like laid back flow. He's definitely a lyrical dude, but he's very laid back, and he kind of like lets you kind of sink it in a little bit and kind of, I guess, give a thought process to what he may be conveying in his views. He's not really just preaching in your face about it. But I think they're one of the best hip hop bands out there. I think we don't have enough hip hop bands, honestly, man. But these guys are definitely top of the list for me. So without further ado, let's get into my 3 picks of my top 3 the Coup albums. So my first pick would be their second album called Genocide and Juice, released in 1994 on Wild Pitch Records. And I really like this record, man. I thought this record was a bit of more of an improvement over their debut record, Kill My Landlord. I mean, Kill My Landlord is really a dope record. It's definitely a classic album, but I like how on Genocide and Juice, the band or the group started to bring in more live instruments into the sound. You get a lot more of the live drums. You get a lot more of that bass, the keyboards, somewhat of a P-Funk type style of approach to that funkiness, man. But they definitely brought a lot of the funk on here. It's a really a good blend of like the P-Funk sound as well as that Bay Area mob music sound that was real popular during the early to mid 90s, man. So they do a great job on there. I think the biggest hit from this record was Fat Cats and Bigger Fish. I believe that's honestly one of the Cool's best known songs, man. But such a great record, man. Some of my favorites on here, Pimps, freestyling at the Fortune 500 club, which is really funny how Boots Riley and E-Rock, they like rap from the perspectives of like these multi-billionaires, like the Rockefeller family, Donald Trump, a few other names that they mentioned, but they rap from these perspectives, and at the same time they're cleverly like lampooning like capitalism in a nutshell. They're basically just expressing their views of I guess what they feel are the flaws within that type of system, but they're doing it by rapping from the perspective of like prominent like multi-billionaires like Donald Trump and the Rockefeller family and such, man. So I thought that was really cool. Santa Rita Weekend, which features E40 and Spice One, I thought was a really dope song as well. It's one of the more mellower songs on the album. I like the way that they flipped the Good Times theme song, which I believe that the hook on here was sung by Spice One. But I just like the way they flipped that hook on there. They really made it relatable. Where Spice One says, you know, I think he said sitting up above the top bunk watching the cell block grow. The way he just sung that hook, man, I thought was really cool, man. I just like the way they flipped that whole Good Times theme song. And then another big favorite of mine on here is Repo Man, where Boots Riley and E-Rock talk about, you know, the Repo Man, how, you know, they don't really care. You know, they don't care if you maybe miss just one payment, or how unremorseful they can be, man. Like, and how they literally go through the hood and be jacking people's cars, man, which is not far-fetched, man. You know, there's a lot of like crooked like repo businesses out here where they actually go to certain areas, neighborhoods, and they literally jack people's cars just so they can get money and stuff like that. So they bring up that fact and how they're just unremorseful to like people's plights, and how some people, you know, you might miss one payment and boom, they coming after you and such like that. But I think it also is another way of them talking about the whole kind of inequality of class, you know, that factors into society, you know, where, you know, how there's certain people at the top that are kind of preying on like the working class people that are actually working hard every day to make a living or survive. So I think in a lot of ways that song kind of focuses on that. And I don't know, I may be off the point, you know, I may be missing that point totally. I'm not a political expert or anything like that, but that's just what I take from it, man. But a lot of great songs on this album. Like I said, I think this was a bigger improvement over the first album, Kill My Landlord. Just a lot of great funky tracks, a lot of great live instruments, some great rhymes, both from E-Rock and Boots Riley. And, you know, Pam the Funtress, man, she comes on and does some amazing scratches throughout the record as well, man. But definitely a record that I think is worth everybody checking out, which is Genocide and Juice, man. And also the title is like a play on Snoop Dogg's Gin and Juice, Genocide and Juice, man. So I thought that was pretty clever too. All right, so next album is Still This Album, or in this case, Still This Double Album, originally released in 1998. So the original album is titled Still This Album, but this is a reissue. I believe this is like the only accessible one that's available right now, is this reissue. It comes with a bonus disc, which is a live performance. So Still This Album is an even more improvement over the second record, the previous album I just talked about, man, because this time they bring in a lot more of that live instruments. I think by this point, man, there's actually like a full band throughout majority of the songs on this record, man. Just a really great record. And some of my favorites on here is like the first track called The Shipment, which is a great opener, man. I really like the kind of funky, somewhat bluesy feel that song gives off. Me and Jesus the Pimp in a 79 Granada last night. That is probably the best known song by the Coup, because that song, it's considered one of the greatest like hip hop songs of all time. And Boots Riley's verses on there have been, I think he even got like a hip hop quotables for that. I'm not so sure, but I know when that song dropped, it got so much like recognition, man, because it's a great story. So it really shows Boots Riley's ability as a storyteller. And I'm not gonna ruin the song for you. I'm just gonna urge you guys just to go on YouTube and watch the video as it goes along with the song and tells the story, man. It's just an amazing story that's really good, man. Really thought out, very well put together, very well structured, man. Just an amazing song. Definitely one of the greatest hip hop songs of all time, man. So what's another song on here? Oh, Cars and Shoes. Cars and Shoes is another favorite on here, because the song is about, I guess you could say this song is like the total opposite of what was popular in hip hop at that time, because 98, that was probably around the bling era of hip hop, where a lot of rappers were rapping about all the money they had, all the cars, the fancy cars and women, things of that nature. But this song is just way more relatable and realistic, because Boots is basically rapping about his bucket. If you know what a bucket is like, I guess what some people they would call like a trap car. You know, it's an old kind of beat up car, but it runs and it works good and it's paid for. That's basically what Boots is rapping about. He's proud of his bucket, his car. It's not the best looking car. it's not in the best shape, but it's paid for, and you know he's got a car, and it's funny because he's talking about, yeah, you might be making fun of my ride and the way it looks, but at least I got a car, and look at you, you're walking. So I thought that was pretty cool, man. I thought that was very relatable, a very cool track. And then there's also a sequel on here called the Repo Man Sings For You, which is the sequel to the Repo Man from the previous album. It's got Dale the Funky Homo Sapien on there, which is a really good song. But there's a lot of great songs on this album, man. This is actually considered to be the Cool's best album. Most people consider this to be their best record, man. And I mean, I don't know. They got a pretty solid discography, man. But I will say that it's one of their best albums, definitely, most definitely, man. But just a really great album. And like I said, I just really enjoyed how they brought in more of that live instrumentation on this record, man. But really great record, man. Definitely check this album out. Definitely check out the song Me and Jesus the Pimp in a 79 Granada Last Night. I would say that's the perfect song as a gateway to get into the Coup, because it's just an amazing story that is told. A very cool concept behind that song. But definitely check out Still This album or Still This double album if you pick it up or stream it anywhere. Definitely one of the best hip hop albums of all time, in my opinion. Oh, and let me point out the fact they actually did this before System of a Down. Now, and I'm a System of a Down fan too, but I just want to point out that they did this before System of a Down, because this album came out in '98. System of a Down didn't come out with their version until 2002. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. But I think there's like several artists that got that title, like Still This album in there. In any case, it's all based on a book. This book that was written called Still This Book. So, but anyway, moving on to my last pick, and that is Party Music, released in 2001. And man, honestly, man, I've actually been spending a lot of time listening to this record here lately, and it's actually becoming one of my top favorites from them. I mean, it might usurp Genocide and Juice, honestly, man, for that spot, man. But the more I listen to this album, the more I just really enjoy it more, man. And this album actually sparked a lot of controversy when it was originally released, because this isn't the original cover. The original cover, I guess it's supposed to be like a Molotov cocktail, but the original cover actually featured Boots Riley and DJ Pam the Fontress. They were standing out front of the World Trade Center buildings, the Twin Towers in New York, and Boots is holding like a bass modulator, but he's using it as a detonator, and it's blowing up the Twin Towers. Now, the reason why I call it controversy, because the album actually came out, I think a couple of months before 9/11 actually took place. Yeah, I think it was like 2 months before 9/11 took place. And of course, after 9/11, you know, everything kind of, you know, a lot of things changed, and there was a lot of sensitivity going on, you know, rightfully so in some cases, but they had to change the album cover because of that. And so that caused a little bit of controversy because of that album cover. But in the Cool's defense, they had that album cover before, you know, 9/11 actually took place. So no, that's just how the tables feel, you know what I'm saying? But in any case, man, I think this is a really good album. Definitely one of their best records, man. A very funky record. Man, it was a lot of good songs on here, man. 5 Million Ways to Kill a CEO, which, you know, again, more like kind of a anti-capitalist rhetoric, so forth. Wear Clean Draws, which is a song that Boots wrote for his daughter. He's basically just giving her game on life and things of that nature. Giving her advice for when she gets older and stuff of that nature. Ghetto Manifesto is one of my favorites from here, man. One of the funkiest tracks on this record, man. The bass, the electric bass that's being played on here. I mean, the whole technique. It sounds like that slapping technique that I really enjoy about bass players. But the technique that is used, man, it kind of sounds like Larry Graham is on this album, man. That whole technique that was used in the bass on that song, it kind of reminds me of something that Graham Central Station would have done. That's the vibe it gives off. But all in all, though, it's a real kind of homegrown funky track. It kind of reminds me of something that you would hear at a cookout, at a family reunion or something like that. It has that vibe, and that's the kind of the sound that it gives off, because there's like background noises throughout the song where it's pretty much a party. Like it's a party. It's like a hood party or so forth, man. But it gives off that vibe like being at a barbecue or something like that in the hood or whatever, man. Get Up featuring Dead Prez is another great one. Like Ride the Fence is a dope one. Pork and Beef is another one of my favorites on this record too. I don't know the artists that are featured on here, man, but it's basically like a critique on police, crooked police and things of that nature like that. They're just going in on not like aggressively, but they're just pointing out the flaws of that type of system in a lot of ways. They're just pointing out those flaws, and like, they bring up stuff like police brutality, harassment by police and racial profiling, things of that nature. But I think what I dig so much about that song is the beat. The beat it has this very LA G-funk type beat that you would like bump in a lowrider or something like that. It's just had it. A lot of times when I listen to the song, I'm kind of waiting for like West Side Connection to come on, because it has that type of sound. It sounds like something that like Dub C would spit over, man. Like the whole time I'm listening to that song, I'm waiting to hear Dub C come on with his like unique flow and just rip it up, man. But it has a very LA G-funk type beat, and I like the way that they flipped the East Siders song, Got Beef. They flipped it on. They flipped that hook on this particular song. They talking about if you got beef with COPs instead of if you got beef with LBC like the East Siders did. But I like the way that they flipped that. That was pretty cool. And then the last song here called Lazy MFer. That song was pretty cool too. It's another like really funky track, but just another song where Boots is pointing out how how these rich and wealthy people are, how they kind of have everything handed to them, and you have working class people who are like working hard. The harder we work, it's like the more harder things get for us and everything like that, so forth. So just another like social critique, so to speak, in that manner, man. But I like the hook. The hook is pretty cool, man. I'm not gonna repeat it, man, but definitely check out that song as well, man. So yeah, Party Music by the Coup, man. Definitely this is definitely an album worth picking up, checking out, man. I think it's a great record, man. I've been listening to this one nonstop, and like I said, man, it's steadily starting to become one of my top favorites, man. Like it just might. I don't know if I'll put it over Still This Album, but I might. If I was ranking these, I would probably have put that one in number one. But it's just the more I listen to it, it's just the more things I'm finding about it I really enjoy. All right, so that's it for my top 3 The Coup albums. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely check out these albums. Definitely check out The Coup, man, because I think they're a wonderful hip-hop band. I think they're not just hip-hop, but I think they're just a wonderful band, period, man. So definitely check out their music. I think they make great music. Solid, stellar collection of songs, man. Definitely check them out. If you're watching this video, hope you, please, if you can, give me a thumbs up and hit the like button. Helps with the algorithm. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell so you'll be notified anytime I drop new content. Also, I want to give a big shout out to everybody that is subscribed to the channel, all my new and old subscribers, everybody that is watching. I am much appreciated to it. And as always, I hope everybody has a blessed day, a blessed week, and love, peace, and music. Peace out.